Well, our topic will be smart cities and startups, opportunities for business innovation. And in our case, we have a tradition here in Korea. Our office is based in Seoul. We opened it at Hanyang University together with the Center for Local Autonomy 32 years ago. So we've come quite a long way so far. But we are also active in North Korea. We've been there since 2003. I just was there most recently last April. We had a workshop there on Sustainable Development Goal number 6. For those who are not so deep in the topic of the Sustainable Development Goals, we were talking about and working about water supply, wastewater management, and everything what is in need for people to make their life more livable when it comes to the very basic needs of the people. So we are one of these very few international organizations with activities in the northern part of the Korean Peninsula. So what you have found in the catalog today, our session is categorized in the category prosperity. This morning, when we heard the speeches, it was said again and again, well, resilient peace is also very closely connected with economic development, with cooperation, joint efforts, trade, and all that. Smart cities are a global phenomenon. It's a global development. Everybody, every country is involved in that. We will hear about this later on. And of course, it offers a lot of many opportunities. So smart cities and industry 4.0 has been changing our life tremendously and will continue to change the lives of our countries and of its individuals. It offers lots of new opportunities, and it needs much adaptation from everybody, from every stakeholder involved and from every individual. We see the options and we share the enthusiasm, which you can see worldwide, especially also in your country here in Korea. These technical aspects are really fascinating. But for a sustainable success and a resilient, smart cities need smart citizens. This is why we have convened here today and what we will discuss later on. This technology, this new technology, has to be used for the empowerment of citizens, and our speakers today will go deeper into that. Our first speaker, Mark Bovenschulte, who just arrived from Berlin last night. Thank you very much for taking the trip, and he has to leave again tomorrow already. So it's great to have you here, Mark. He will focus a little bit on regulations, political tasks which are involved in all this, and will elaborate on that. We have, with many more concrete examples, also from Korea, Professor Hwang Jae-eun. Both will be introduced a little bit later. And so in these 1.5 hours, we will have enough times also for your contributions and your questions. So you are cordially invited to contribute, to make this session a success. You may have seen on the poster that we had invited a third expert to give a presentation on, unfortunately, on very short notice. She had to cancel. She got sick and she could not come from Germany. So we have tried to adapt to this new situation, and I think we found a brilliant solution, and I personally very much looking forward to what we will see. So as Sofia Ramirez could not come, we give a stronger role to Waltraud Ritter, who originally was just planned to moderate the whole thing, but as she is so deep in all these topics, involved with lots of experiences and lots of knowledge from so many countries in the world, she will also contribute contents-wise. She will later on introduce our two speakers. So I have the privilege just to introduce you, Waltraud. She says about herself, I am a knowledge entrepreneur. What I'm doing is creating ideas and help the collaboration between government, civil society, business, and academia. She studied at the same university as I did. I'm proud of that I had such a prominent co-student. I think more or less at the same time in the 1980s. Yeah. And she has been living in Hong Kong and Singapore for much more than 20 years now. She's teaching at Bangkok University. She's teaching at Singapore Management University. She will be in Seoul in July also to give lectures there. And in between she will be in Germany, in Stockholm, and I forgot the rest, but be sure she has a lot to do, and we have the privilege that you will share your experience and your knowledge with us. She is in several advisory committees, but to save time, I'll leave it with that. I'm looking forward to our session. I thank you very much for coming, and I hand over to Waltraud Ritter, who will introduce our two distinguished speakers. So welcome again. Thank you for the attention.
Okay, Christian, thank you very much for the kind introduction. Yeah. Welcome to the session. I think this is quite an interesting session because we are talking on smart city from a very different perspective than the usual perspective of technology and big business driving smart city development. There have been a couple of sessions on smart city also here at this forum. I just came from one, and very often you have this kind of top-down perspective on smart city. That's maybe, I know I have been in Songdo many times, which is like a super top-down government project. And so in this session, I think it's really great that the Friedrich Naumann Foundation focuses on the core of what actually cities are about. Cities are about citizens. And from the famous Jane Jacob, who said, who owns a city? The citizen, of course. And so now with the technology is really driving this even more, because the citizens now are so much technology empowered. That means we don't need to wait for the 5G and the big IoT. We have a lot of information power already in our smartphones, which helps us to monitor, to understand, to analyze things, and also to gather information about urban phenomena. And so I think this is really where we can make this link between smart city, citizens, and citizen empowerment, so that we can talk about citizens becoming citypreneurs. They have much more ownership of what happens in their city. That's quite interesting, because we have never had so many so much power in the hands of citizens. And so that also leads to this questions how citizens and districts and city governments collaborate. And so, for instance, in many countries you have now citizen and government working much closer together, because the knowledge level is very even. Before it was the mayor knows everything, but now it is everybody knows a little bit, and if we put together the know-how that we have, we can really have quite a big impact on what happens in the city. And I think Seoul is a great example, because Mayor Park here, of course, he has this famous, in his office, he has a citizen dashboard. I don't know how many of you are here from Seoul? Not many. Nobody, all from Jeju, only one from from Seoul. Maybe you know the citizen dashboard. So you, as the mayor, sits in his office and he gets all the feedback from the citizen about what's going wrong in the city and what needs to be done and so on. So, so that's why we want in this session to look at citizen entrepreneurship, business, and how this can spur a whole wave of new innovation for the future of cities. And so to start with, we have two speakers, so as Christian already said. And so I would like first to invite Mark, Dr. Mark Bovenschulte from the Institute of Innovation and Technology in Berlin. And so he will focus more on the big framework of policy and innovation and how the cities need to nurture this innovation ecosystem. Yes, and Mark has a background in biology, and then you also advise the scientific staff in the German Parliament. And then later on he moved to an engineering association, VDI, and he is now in charge of foresight and research at that VDI. And since 2013 he is with a think tank, IIT Management, and maybe you can explain a bit more later what that is, but this is kind of a think tank focusing on innovation capability, demographic change in cities, and also trends and foresight in cities and the wider countries. So with this, maybe I give the floor to Mark, and then afterwards I will introduce our next speaker. And since we are a relatively small group here, we will keep it quite informal, so questions are always welcome, and please raise your hand if you want to voice your comment. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Mark. Exactly.
So thank you very much for the kind introduction, as well for the kind invitation to be here. A big thank you to the Naumann Foundation. Yes, one is always asking, why is a biologist talking about innovation? But you know, everybody's talking about innovation ecosystem, everybody's talking about company DNA, so this is my close relation to all this innovation business. I will give a short introduction in all this field, overspanning it, which is made of smart city and startups. Most of the things maybe that you heard about before. I try to put it in a big context. Hopefully it will be a good job I'm doing. Yes. And I will start with just two numbers. Today, 55% of global population already live in cities. And within the next 20, 30 years, it will be 70% of your global population, and end of this century, it's 80 or 90%. And we have already some countries, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, where we have rates of more than 80% living in cities. So this will be, in future, the natural habitat for nearly all the human mankind. And what does this mean for the topic of urbanization? This is a title from The Guardian, end of last year. And there we see this tendency that we don't have only the amount of large cities growing. And they say within the next 50 years, from the 100 mega cities, just 14 will be in Europe or in the Americas. And I don't care if it's 14 or 15. And I don't know if it's the 100 biggest or the 90 biggest. The tendency is quite clear. There's a big shift to Asia and Africa. And at the end of the century, nearly half of the global population will live in Africa. So there we have a big growth of cities. And the question is, which city will make the race to be the first 100 million city? And from some calculations from Toronto University, it will be Lagos in Nigeria. There are some other candidates, but as well, the question is if it's 80 million or 100 million. Exponentially, all these problems of large cities will grow. These cities produce each and every day million tons of waste. Where to dump it? The infrastructure, because you have so much shanty towns and informal housing, the infrastructure is absent or collapsing. If they reproduce, let's say, the European model of individual traffic, everybody has a car, these cities will never run properly. Many of these housings don't have access to clean water. They don't have a sanitary system. So if we talk about smart city, is this a stupid city? And are the people stupid? They are not able to run a good city? Obviously not. What makes a good smart city? I don't know if the focus really is on technology. I think the focus is more how the city is built in this general proportions and what is the concept. We already heard a city is for citizens, and this means it's an inclusive concept. And when we come to smart city, it's more a technology-driven approach, and it's something like a holistic growth perspective, which takes technology to make everything better. Yeah, it's something like it's more efficient, greener, socially inclusive, and we see there an inflation of definitions. Coming from Germany, this term, Industry 4.0, was coined in Germany. And we don't have only Industry 4.0, we have Health 4.0, Work 4.0, Traffic 4.0. It's living and dying 4.0. And here we see the same inflation. Everything is smart. Smart technology, smart buildings, smart people. I don't know. And in reality, to my personal perception, these smart city concepts have converted into a playground of big companies, and it's more or less three core areas. It's traffic control and steering, it's energy efficiency, maybe, and it's camera surveillance, it's safety and security. But when you look at these mega cities existing or growing, they face other problems as well. Nearly all of these big cities that are growing now are coastal cities. And when we look at climate change and the increasing sea level, they don't face some problems with pizza delivery services. They have to struggle, they have to find some ways to overcome the vulnerability, and they have to defend natural hazards and threats. So this is a much bigger question than have a smooth running traffic. And there we see as well, maybe there's a division of decisions as well. There's definitely a governmental role to guarantee the existence of the city as it is. And at the same time, it should create public-owned spaces. Now, who owns the public spaces in cities? We see the tendency that every domain of urban life is commercialized. This is to a certain degree fine, because it's really offering a better service, but it can't be a paradigm for all these cities. And what do you do if everything is commercialized and you don't have the financial resources? You're out, you have to leave the city. So these are big problems as well. And who will be a smart city? Looking from a European perspective and of a US American as well, the cities are already built. The infrastructure is already there. You won't dump it. You won't create a new San Francisco, New York, or New Berlin. You have to work within the existing infrastructure, and they have natural limiters. So you can't do this as a city which is planned like a blueprint and built up in 10 years. It's really difficult to improve the city livability. But at the same time, as I said, there has to be a public space, and you have to have something like a place for business creation and development. And business development and problem solving are no contradictions. Business development can contribute definitely to problem solving. And we see this, as I already said, all the smart city concepts are more or less dominated by big companies. And if you look at all these platform economies, delivery services, and so on and so on, this is all dominated by big, at least in Europe, US American companies. You here have as well national champions, but as well they're big companies. And maybe it's better to include local knowledge, as Waltraud said in her introduction, and to make something out of this. And this can be a good option for interlinkage of knowledge and this will be a playground for software startups, but as well for hardware startups. And we have some shift in paradigms. Oh, this is not a shift in paradigm, we have a bifurcation. On the one hand side, we have big factories like Tesla, the Gigafactory. In the desert of Nevada, they built up, I don't know how many square meters big factory. And on the one hand side, you fill in raw material. At the other end, the fine battery comes out. This is economy of scale. And on the other hand, you have the urban place, where you can introduce small manufacturing facilities, and you have economies of scope. And then you can concentrate not on massive scale-up production within a city nobody would accept, but we have, for example, cooperation-intense, knowledge-intense production of goods, which requires the intertwining of different actors, and you can introduce as well local knowledge. And this is a good chance for urban manufacturing, and I think my colleague Professor Wang will take this with a more profound perspective in her talk. Coming from Berlin, I can't avoid to speak a bit about Berlin. It's an old city, and of course we have as well the history of reunification. Today, Berlin still figures in the top 10 of global startup city rankings, changed places with Paris. We were formerly in position 9, now we're 10. Paris was formerly 10, it's now 9. First places are done by San Francisco, Tel Aviv, and whatever. And after unification, we had this surprising situation that both parts, the eastern and the western part of Berlin, were somehow underdeveloped. The eastern part, from the socialist system, experimented a strong collapse, and the western part didn't have some industrial basis, and they were alimented from the rest of the republic. There was something like a special status of Berlin. They received money for not being productive, but just to maintain Berlin as an island of democracy within the former socialist part. But this mixture was very creative and very attractive to international talents. Housing was very affordable. You met very many people from the East European parts, so Berlin established itself as a gateway to the East. And it was something like a mixture with a lot of subculture, off-culture, theaters, galleries, whatever, which gave the typical Berlin mixture, the typical Berlin flavor. And this attracted, as I said, more and more people who were related with arts, culture, and this time was the upcoming digital bohemians being part of this wave to create startup. And this really made up a startup system growing bottom up and not top down. Honestly spoken, when this occurred, the Berlin government, the city government, didn't have an idea, didn't have a clue how to impulse and to improve this growing startup system. They didn't do a lot, and this was the good thing. They just offered cheap spaces. We had a special term. This is something like temporary usage of housing, of former fabrics, former office buildings, and there the entrepreneurs were able to invade space for very low rates with just landlords not so clear. It was really cheap, just some electricity, and there they could really grow. It was something like a biotop, which was typical for this time in Berlin. You can't reproduce this, and as I said, it's established as one of the top startup cities in the world. Today we face some problems in Berlin. The most pressurous problem is we don't have good access to venture capital. And this brings me to what makes favorite conditions for startups. Well, it's quite clear. You need all these incubators, accelerators, startup programs, and so on and so on. And of course, you need some seed capital, venture capital, to have big exits. Of course, in Berlin, we have as well big investments. For example, the IoT startup Relayer, which was sold autumn last year to Munich Re, insurance company, for $300 million. There is some big money, but it is the exception and not the daily case. We have open access to knowledge. Berlin as well has a good university scene, a lot of Fraunhofer institutes and so on and so on, and they collaborate as well. So we have an injection of new knowledge. And this is a nice concept done by the US American economist Richard Florida. We have the 3 T's: talent, technology, and tolerance. So if we have conditions that are racist, homophobic, exclusive, maybe there's not a good place to grow your startup. You need something like tolerance, you need diversity, you need something like a constructive friction, which comes out from diversity, from people from other countries. And we see as well in this situation, migrants, which are normally seen as problems, have an over-average participation in the foundation of startups. As I said, affordable life costs, availability of workshops and galleries, this is as well a good point. If you see it now in San Francisco, from all these Googles and Apples, even middle-class people can't afford housing in San Francisco. They have to move in the outskirts of San Francisco. So the price level is quite a striking argument. And if you want to attract people from abroad, you have to have easy accessibility to a visa. And we have, of course, as it is in France, for example, La French Tech, we have a special program in Berlin which makes it easy for applications to get their visa without bureaucratic hurdles. This is a fast one. And they have the same, for example, in Chile. Another point is, this is one of my favorite concepts from economy, is done by MIT, Professor Hausmann and collaborators. This is an atlas of economic complexity. And this is something like a graphic visualization of the uniqueness of a national economy. And we have here the example of Korea. It always looks a bit like an insect, like an ant. And Korea, I don't know, is the 3rd most complex economy in the world. First is Switzerland, second is Japan, then it's Korea, then it's Germany. And these countries have a lot of technological potential which can be recombined by companies, so they don't have to start from the scratch, but you can recombine all this technological and production know-how and bring it up as well for startups to make it some fructive input for them. And this is a good thing. Korea has such a strong complexity, so it is easy to grow startups. And obviously, you can easily interlink with other companies. And for Germany, it's very important because 98 or 97% of all companies are small and medium-sized companies. And so we need to put in contact the startups who really inject new ideas with SMEs who know how to start a production process, how to scale up production, how to access international markets. And of course, all these established companies might be supported and have a shift in construction paradigm. Because we are known for German engineering. This is always more precise, always a bit better, most cost-effective. But now we need something like another paradigm which comes from software development, permanently better. And of course, German companies are not so keen on doing this. And this is what I say can be learned from startups. Let me finish with 2 examples. When I said we are not so good in big startups and high-tech hardware products, 2 examples where the opposite is shown. It is in the field of autonomous aerial vehicles, flying taxis. This is the example from a South German company, Volocopter. They do now the test flights in Dubai. We don't have still a test bed. We don't have the regulations, so they have to go to Dubai to do their flight testing. And another example is Lilium, as well from the southern part of Germany, not from Berlin, unfortunately. And they have another concept, is something like vertical takeoff and landing, but it flies like an airplane. speeding up to 300 kilometers, much faster than all these drones, and have something like can span a distance of 300 kilometers as well. So this is really a very promising concept. But as I said, unfortunately, we don't have the legislation, the regulation. We don't even have the infrastructure to let them fly. I was told that you need 4G mobile network, and if you know Germany, you know that even the 4G is not functioning so nice. So there's a big step to go in digital infrastructure to push forward as well these projects. And this is something like the propaganda block. If you're interested in more insights in startup ecosystems, we did a comparative analysis of Buenos Aires, Santiago de Chile, Seoul, San Francisco, Paris, and Berlin. You can get it on the internet. It's in English, so easy access. Thank you very much indeed, and I'm looking forward for the discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. So maybe this company Lilium should go to Korea then, no? Because the 5G network is quite good. So can you make a connection maybe, yeah, to link the startups? I think that's also something quite important. That for big companies we have a lot of connectivity, easy to internationalize. But for startups, the internationalization is quite a challenge sometimes, and we need much more of these exchanges between startups, taking a good idea from one city to another and also from one country to another. So there's an emerging infrastructure for that, but still a lot to do. Okay, so now we are going to our second presentation, and that will touch on what Mark already mentioned, on this urban manufacturing, that the city becomes the space for new production and new ideas. And we are very glad that we have Professor Wang from the, she's the chair of the University of Seoul, Department of Architecture. And she is involved in a very interesting project in the Sewon campus. And it's a very interesting project on how citizens use their urban space for technology innovative projects. And I'm very much looking forward to what you want to say. And this presentation will be in Korean. Is it okay for you? So maybe you get there's a translation for those who don't speak Korean. yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I was considering whether I speak in English or in Korean, but obviously those Korean speakers more than English speakers. I will speak in English when we make a discussion, but 예, 그러면 한국말로 하겠습니다. 네. 소개받은 황지은이고요. 이렇게 초대를 다시 한번 받게 돼서 너무 감사드립니다. 나우만 재단에도 감사드립니다. 네. 바로 전에 그 발표해 주신 내용들이 사실은 좋은 어떤 백그라운드가 되었는데요. 제가 오늘 발표할 내용은 작다고 할 수 없는 벌어지고 있는 우리나라에서 벌어지고 있는 일들을 좀 소개할까 해요. 혹시 아까 서울에서 오신 분 손 들었을 때 몇 분 안 계셨는데 혹시 서울에서 오신 여기가 어디죠? 예, 여기 청계천 그죠? 이게 청계천 세운상가가 막 지어졌을 때 사진이고요. 1960년대 후반 청계천의 모습이에요. 그리고 박정희 대통령께서 이제 박현옥 시장 때 이제 우리나라의 새로운 근대적인 어떤 모습을 만들기 위해서 최초의 주상복합, 그러니까 1층부터 4층까지는 그 근대적인 그 상가, 그리고 위에는 근대적인 그 주택, 즉 아파트의 전신을 만들었던 곳인데요. 이곳이 굉장히 초반에는 셀레브리티가 사는 되게 중요한 그런 도심 안에 있는 되게 중요한 그 주거 공간이기도 했는데 그 후로 이제 전자제품이나 이런 그 이미 가지고 있었던 아까 그 urban manufacturing, 즉 주변에 있는 제조업 기반들이 유통산업이랑 만나면서 굉장히 부흥했다가 이제 용산, 강남 이런 개발이 가면서 점점 기울어서 그리고 또 도심 한복판에 있는 위치 때문에 굉장히 80년대 이후로는 재개발 이슈로 굉장히 복잡하게 얽혀 있었던 지역이고 현재까지도 아마 신문에서 간간히 보고 계실 거예요. 그리고 네, 이제 이런 그 많은 도시 건축가들 그리고 계획가들이 이런 큰 그림들을 그리고 앞으로 우리 도시가 어떻게 돼야 될까 하는 모습으로 남아 있었는데요. 현재는 이제 이런 모습이죠. 그리고 2014년 이후 이제 서울시가 이제 이 지역을 재생하기로 결정을 하고 많은 그 시장님들께서 이곳을 어떻게 만들고 싶은 계획들이 다 있으셨지만 이제 어쨌든 박원순 시장님 때 와서는 존치를 하고 이곳에 있는 그 사회적 구조를 좀 바꾸는 형식으로 바꾸고 그 프로젝트 이름은 다시 세운이라고 해서 2017년부터 개장을 하고 이제 선언을 하고 계속 진행 중인 프로젝트입니다. 그래서 뭐 아마 익숙하실 수도 있고 이제 세대마다 다 다른 인상을 갖고 계실 수 있는데요. 이곳에서 현재 벌어지고 있는 일들은 이곳이 갖고 있는 그 제조업 기반들에 이제 새로운 스타트업들이 들어오고 새로운 기술들을 연결하는 그런 일들이 마구 벌어지고 있고요. 그 도시적으로는 사실 그 세운상가 일대 저 넓은 구역, 을지로, 청계천, 종묘 그리고 저기 그 남산까지 이어지는 그 부분을 보행 축으로 연결을 하는 게 서울시의 가장 큰 플랜이고요. 그 주변과의 관계들이 이제 계속 연결되도록 하는 것들이 그 도시 계획에서는 되게 중요한 것입니다. 근데 오늘 얘기할 것은 사실 이 지역이 아마 아시는 분도 아시겠지만 굉장히 그 많은 산업들이 작은 스케일의 산업들이 밀집해 있는 지역입니다. 특히 인쇄산업 같은 경우는 서울시 전체에 있는 인쇄산업의 70%가 여기 모여 있고요. 여기 있는 작은 그 골목 사이사이에 있는 작은 그 공장들이 여전히 자기 성업하고 있고 얼핏 보면 되게 막 지금 무너져가는 집 같지만 안에 들어가면 밤낮으로 돌아가는 공장들을 보실 수가 있어요. 그래서 한편으로는 이렇게 막 로봇이나 3D 프린터 드론들을 들이는 스타트업들이 들어오고 여전히 바로 옆에는 저런 철공소에서 계속 같은 걸 만들고 30년간 똑같은 걸 계속 만들고 계신 장인들이 계속 작업을 하고 있습니다. 그리고 그런 서울시가 이제 어쨌든 공공에 투자를 하고 또 많은 사람들이 이게 어떻게 보면 다시 트렌드가 돌아서 레트로한 이런 스타일이랑 맞아서 이 안에서 벌어지는 예술 프로젝트, 스타트업 프로젝트, 공공 프로젝트가 어마무시하게 지금 많이 벌어지고 있고요. 뭐 저를 포함해서 이제 학교가 이제 이곳에 들어가서 여기서 새로운 교육들을 하고 교육을 통해서 여러 사람들을 만나는 일들이 벌어지고 있습니다. 요거는 제가 이제 2년 전에 서울 도시건축 비엔날레 큐레이터를 맡으면서 만들었던 티저 영상인데 지금 제가 말씀드린 내용들을 가장 집약적으로 보여주는 그런 영상이라는 것도 좀 준비했어요. 그래서 이렇게 옛날부터 파시던 그런 그 나사만 파는 그런 골목이 있는가 하면 또 팬랩이나 또 여전히 현금을 내고 그리고 또 작은 그 공장 안에서 젊은이들이 새로운 것들을 만들고 시도하고 네, 이런 일들이 지금 벌어지고 있습니다. 2년 전에 만들었던 영상이고요. 그리고 아까 말씀드렸듯이 서울시 비전은 결국 이제 이 가운데 남는 그 지금 50년 된 이 건물들을 그대로 보존해서 그리고 보강해서 이것들이 주변을 살릴 수 있는 그런 척추 같은 역할을 해주길 바라고 대신에 여기에서 쓸 수 있는 공간들을 조금 찾아서 이제 전략 공간 그래서 아까 말씀하신 그런 메이커 스페이스들을 지원을 해주고 들어올 수 있도록 해주고 있습니다. 저는 이제 서울시립대학교 건축과에서 가르치고 있는데요. 서울시립대학교가 이제 전략기관이기도 하고 여기서 세운 캠퍼스라는 개념을 빌드업하고 있어요. 그래서 학교 안에서는 그 창업지원단하고 평생교육원 그리고 제가 리빙랩이라고 쓰긴 했습니다만 어떤 현장형 교육들이 같이 벌어지고 있는 것이지만 이게 학교만의 문제는 아니고요. 여기 많이 있는 메이커들이나 액티비스트들, 커뮤니티들과 함께 네트워크의 형식으로 작업을 하고 있고요. 그 밑에는 사실은 그 서울시의 이제 전폭적인 지원이 사실은 있습니다. 그래서 세운 캠퍼스는 아까 말한 이번 이렇게 얼반 매니팩처링이 결국 도시 제조업, 도심 산업이 창의 사업과 만나는 과정을 증진을 하고요. 또 새로운 기술들을 가르치고 배울 수 있는 그런 환경, 그리고 또한 이런 글로벌 네트워크를 계속 만드는 것들, 그리고 아까 말씀드렸던 이게 어디 있죠? 예, 네, 그 스몰 스케일 프로덕션 그리고 그 세대 간의 교류 그리고 어떻게 보면 컬래버레이션이 굉장히 이미 그 산업 생태계가 이미 굉장히 발달되어 있는 곳인데 여기에 새로운 인풋이 들어가는 형식으로 오래된 50년 된 그 기술 장인들이 새로 온 그 젊은이들과 협업을 하는 이런 현상들이 벌어지고 있습니다. 네, 당연히 그 교육이 벌어지면서 이제 미래 세대 친구들이 어른들께도 배우고 새 기술도 배우는 그런 장들이 만들어지고 있고요. 또 중요한 것은 이제 이런 과정을 통해서 특히 교육이나 이런 연구를 통해서 이런 커뮤니티를 계속 형성하고 만날 수 있는 자리들을 만든다는 것입니다. 그래서 오늘 주제가 스마트시티이기 때문에 지금 말씀드렸던 이런 그 세운 캠퍼스의 컨셉을 가지고 지금 현재 제가 그 참여하고 있는 연구 프로젝트 중에 하나입니다. 그러니까 사실 기술적으로 스마트시티라고 했을 때 디지털 트윈이란 개념이 항상 똑같이 따라가거든요. 그래서 있는 도시를 똑같이 디지털 쌍둥이로 만들어 놔야 이것을 같이 제어할 수 있는 그 도시에서 오는 시그널을 우리가 볼 수도 있고 우리가 그걸 제어할 수도 있는 그 개념이 스마트시티에서 굉장히 중요한데요. 보통 새로 짓는 지금 우리나라에서 지금 신도시 개념으로 짓는 그 스마트시티들이 지금 대세로 그래서 거기에 어떤 망을 깔고 어떤 테크놀로지를 들일 건가에 대한 얘기들이 굉장히 사실은 제일 많은데요. 우리 세션에서는 지금도 말씀드렸지만 어떻게 그 스마트 시티즌을 연결할 건가, 도시와 연결하고 시티즌끼리 연결할 건가라는 관계 안에서 보는 관점이 우리 지금 디지털 트윈 세운을 만드는 과정과 굉장히 흡사합니다. 그래서 지금 진행된 지 한 3개월밖에 안 됐기 때문에 일단은 어떤 플랜을 갖고 있는지를 주로 말씀드릴게요. 일단 당연히 세운상가 내부에 있는 5층에 있는 중정인데요. 혹시 안 가보신 분이 많으시다면 한번 들러보시기를 권장을 해요. 그래서 여기는 아파트였던 공간이었고요. 에이티움이 굉장히 멋있는 게 굉장히 보존이 잘 돼서 남아 있습니다. 이런 것을 3D 스캔하고 그리고 그것을 맵으로 만들고 또 드론이나 스마트 카트를 통해서 계속 그 공간 정보를 지금 취득을 하고 있고요. 그리고 이제 여기서 보시면 실제로 그 도시 공간에 이미 존재하는 그 장소, 거기 샵, 그리고 그 프로덕트들을 어떻게 정보화를 할 것인가가 훨씬 더 이슈인 그 프로젝트이고요. 이것을 연결해서 결국은 이제 이 도시재생 혹은 도시계획이 실제로 어떻게 지금 진행이 되고 있는지 모니터링을 하는 그런 시스템하고 그리고 이것을 일반 시민들이 찾아와서 이 얼반 매니팩처링을 직접 구현할 수 있는 그러니까 내가 어떤 걸 만들 때 어느 서비스 어느 프로덕트를 통해서 만들 수 있는지 하는 그런 단순한 DB가 아니라 지금 그곳의 장소에 우리가 방문할 수 있는 그런 시스템들 같이 만들고 있습니다. 그래서 현재 이거 엊그저께 찍은 사진이고요. 이제 세운상가 내에 디지털 트윈 룸 데모룸을 하나 만들어서 이것에서 우리가 지금 만들고 있는 모든 그 과정들을 그 주민들이 다 와서 보실 수 있고, 그리고 언제나 소통해서 필요한 부분을 우리가 다시 재조정하거나 혹은 주민들이 참여해서 이런 그 기술뿐만 아니라 실제로 필요한 수요들을 스스로 만들거나 아니면 저희가 그걸 착안해서 만들 수 있는 그런 데모룸을 만들어서 운영하고 있습니다. 요 다음에는 이제 저희가 학생들하고 수업에서 그리고 연구하면서 다시 만들었던 과정들에 의해서 이제 사용할 수 있는 디지털 트윈에서 사용하는 그런 백본 데이터 같은 것들인데요. 이거는 최경일 학생이 만든 엄청난 작업인데 여기 보시면 1930년부터 지금까지 세운상가 일대 모든 계획을 다 3D로 만들어 놓은 그 웹 서비스를 보실 수 있고요. 그래서 이제 지어지지 않은 수많은 플랜들이 있었죠. 예, 그런 것들, 그 디자인 컴피티션에서 나왔던 거 혹은 계획상에서 나왔던 것들을 실시간으로 보실 수 있는 것들 있고요. 그래서 이 외에도 사실은 제가 더 많은 자료들이 있는데 잠깐 이제 이 케이스, 지금 진행되고 있는 케이스를 떠나서 저희가 가려는 방향에 대해서 조금 설명을 하려고 그래요. 사실 스마트 팩토리랑 스마트 시티, 스마트 아일랜드가 저 뒤 옆에 방에서 지금 얘기하고 있는데, 지금 그 스마트 시리즈로 나가는 것들의 중심은 사실은 어떻게 그 연결을 할까의 문제들이에요. 그래서 이것도 딜로이트에서 나온 자료를 그냥 제가 차용을 했는데, 옛날에는 어떤 하나의 그러니까 자산이 이제 한 공장이 가지고 있었던 공정 하나를 나중에는 이제 대기업이 되면 이걸 쭉 만드는 그 전체 그 플랜트를 만드는 개념으로 갔지만 이제는 그런 작은 공정들이 멀리 떨어져 있거나 혹은 조금 다른 개체가 되더라도 연결할 수 있는 그런 시스템이 이제 앞으로 필요해진다, 이런 것들이고, 아까 소개하신 인더스트리 4.0가 그런 개념으로 지금 진행이 되고 있죠, 독일에서도. 그래서 다 아시겠지만 디지털 트윈이라는 것은 물리적 환경을 디지털 그대로 옮겨놓고 그것이 서로 계속 싱크로나이즈 된, 계속 그 같이 갈 수 있는 방법들을 구하는 것들입니다. 그래서 아디다스의 스피드 팩토리라는 제품이 있어요. 그래서 개념은 그 어느 프로덕트, 원래 이제 신발이 하나 나올 때까지 한 15개월이 넘게 걸린다고 하는데, 네. 근데 이제 공장에 이제 모든 그 공정을 혼자 다 할 수 있는 그런 로봇이나 시스템을 갖춰 놓으면 커스터머의 정보를 가지고 그 자리에서 빨리 만들어주면 결국은 그게 이제 가격 경쟁력이 있고 혹은 대량 생산해서 만들 수 없는 것들을 만든다는 그런 개념들이에요. 그럼에도 불구하고 저는 좀 재밌었던 부분은 특히 독일에서 이런 것들이 어떤 사람을 대체하는 기계를 만드는 방향이 아니라 이렇게 됨으로써 그동안 그 구두를 만들던 장인들을 고용할 수밖에 없는 부분들이 항상 생기고, 그리고 기계가 할 수 없고 사람들이 해야 되는 일들을, 그리고 사람이 훨씬 더 잘할 수 있는 일들을 좀 더 개발하게 된다는 데 조금 초점을 맞춰서 리포트를 하고 있어요. 지금 사실은 아디다스 스마트 팩토리 같은 경우는 아직은 홍보용의 프로모션을 위한 것들이 많이 강할 텐데, 근데 이게 이런 식의 사람들을 다시 고용하게 되고 우리가 잃었던 기술들을 다시 찾는 그런 방식으로 이제 풀어서 설명하는 것들이 굉장히 흥미로웠습니다. 그래서 조금 도서가 없는 것 같긴 한데 결국은 이 도심 산업이 대량 생산이 아니라 어떤 작은 그 생산 공정들의 연결들, 그리고 그 사이에서 벌어질 수 있는 그런 창의성, 이런 것들을 밝히는데 굉장히 중요하고, 마침 아까 보여드린 세운상가 일대는 그게 이제 숙명적으로 보존이 돼버린, 그러니까 어떤 의도가 많이 담기진 않았지만 어쨌든 오랜 시간 남았기 때문에 그것을 어떻게 보존하고 다시 우리가 해석하고 거기에 담긴 그 산업 생태계를 어떻게 이해할 건가 하는 것들이 매우 중요합니다. 그래서 이거는 사실 그 노이만 재단에서 지원을 해주셔서 불과 한 3주 전에 했던 글로벌 포럼의 모습인데요. 여기서 그 뉴욕에 있는 얼번 매니팩처링 얼라이언스 하고 그 유럽 내에 대도시에 생기는 그런 제조업의 새로운 활력 같은 것들을 조사하는 Cities of Making이라는 팀, 그리고 또 독일의 Industry 4.0의 플랫폼을 만드는 팀들이 오셔서 지금 그 이 세운상가 일대 혹은 전 세계의 어떤 도심부에 남은 그런 제조업들이 다시 재해석되는 건 굉장히 지금 굉장히 당면한 문제고, 이것들을 어떻게 보존해서 우리가 새로운 산업과 연결할 건가 하는 것이 매우 중요한 그 경제적 미래적 가치와 그런 그 새로운 어떤 가치관을 우리가 중요시한다는 얘기들을 많이 나눴습니다. 그래서 지금 또 그 세운 메이드 그리고 저런 메이커 마켓, 메이커 시티 마켓이라는 행사들이 지금 벌어지고 있고요. 이런 브랜드는 지금 한국의 킥스타터 같은 거죠. 텀블벅에서 지금 들어가시면 바로 보실 수 있는데요. 이제 이 지역에서 이제 그런 새로운 스타트업들이 이 지역에 있는 기술들을 연결해서 만든 제품들을 이제 온라인에 판매하고 런칭하고 이걸 공동체의 어떤 자산으로 지금 만들려는 움직임들이 막 벌어지고 있습니다. 그래서 하나의 예시로 이제 지금 벌어지고 있는 일들 보여드립니다. 결국은 그 도심 제조업이라는 것들이 스마트시티에 다른 개념, 실제로 그 서브스턴스로 그 내용으로서 우리가 지녀야 될 어떤 되게 중요한 하나의 주제라고 생각을 하고요. 결국은 어떤 공장, 어떤 스마트 공장, 어떤 스마트 시티를 만드냐의 제일 기반에는 결국은 사람 그리고 그런 사회적 자본이 어떻게 연결된 것인가가 매우 중요한데, 지금 세운상가의 경우는 이런 준비가 매우 지금 되어 있는 상태고요. 오히려 이런 것이 지금 다 발굴이 됐는데 이제 재개발이 지금 재개발 이슈가 터져서 오히려 있었던 그 도시가 없어질 것 같은 지금 문제 당면에 있는 것이 지금 문제입니다. 그래서 서울시에서 발굴했던 기술 장인들, 그러니까 그 자기가 하시던 일을 30년 이상 하셨던 분들께 인증 마이스터, 세운 마이스터라는 인증서를 주셨는데, 이런 분들과 저도 굉장히 다 친하게 지내는 분들인데요. 이분들이 저희 학생들을 직접 가르쳐 주시기도 하고 또 항상 뭐든 도와주시는 그런 분들이시고요. 아까 보여드렸던 이렇게 젊은이와 협업하는 제품들이 막 나오고 있고요. 그리고 아마 백남준 선생님 작가의 이제 수석 테크니션이셨던 이정성 선생님이 세운상가 출신이신데요. 아직도 활발하게 활동하고 계시고, 지금 젊은 미디어 아티스트들이 오시면 꼭 저분을 만나고 이제 조언을 듣고 가고 항상 그렇습니다. 또 학생들이 이제 찾아와서 학생들이 여기 있는 분들하고 교감하고 그런 일들이 벌어지고 있습니다. 그래서 어쨌든 아직은 그 스마트 시티라는 개념 그리고 스마트 팩토리라는 개념들이 이제 어떻게 보면 앞으로 벌어질 일에 대한 그림일 텐데요. 근데 훨씬 사실은 우리가 가야 될 방향이 어떤 곳에 있는가 하고 땅에서 한번 봐볼 필요가 있겠고, 탑다운이 아닌 이제 바텀업 방식으로 좀 전환을 할 때가 아닌가 하는 생각을 하면서 일단 여기서 이야기를 마치겠습니다.
Okay, thank you very much. That was really great. We had a very rich presentation, and thank you for the translators also. So now we are having a conversation here about some of the topics of these presentations, but also a conversation about other topics that you find relevant on innovation and smart cities. And Maybe I would like to start with the topic that we have not explicitly addressed here, and that is a topic on data and the city. One can, of course, say that smart cities are basically data-fied cities, because so much is about data, sensors, IoT, and so on. And what you mentioned, the digital twin, if you want to make a digital twin, you need a lot of data, the spatial data. And the spatial data is in Seoul, maybe it is no problem. But I think in Berlin, I don't know. I mean, we come back to this topic about. I think we don't have a digital twin of Berlin so far, do we? No, I have seen a digital twin of Helsinki and Stockholm, but Berlin, yeah. Or maybe I don't need this one. If you have this one, yeah, yeah. Sorry. So that is maybe something that we always forget. That smart city, you need a lot of open data, public data. And there, I think you can really see the differences, what cities can do. Seoul is really great in this geospatial field of data, so it's relatively easy to create a digital twin. But how about Berlin? Can you tell us what's going on there?
This is a bit embarrassing because, of course, the city government has as well lots of data that they come from public authorities and so on, but it took ages, definitely ages, where this public service information was made accessible for small companies as well for big companies like the telecom carriers. And we have now a program, a state program, which impulses the use of public service information and these big data, which is collected by public companies as well, to be used for databases to develop new business models. There are some quite promising use cases already, which has been implemented and developed. For example, there's one system for flood control. When we have extreme weather like thunderstorms and strong rain, we have always flooding, and so they have to do a prediction system which allows to have a better and anticipatory traffic control. You know which station is always running full of water, which streets will be heavily affected, and then you can have other ways for the recommendation of the navigation system. This functions quite nice. We have some like free riding systems from car sharing and so on and so on. Mm-hmm. These use definitely this data, but it's mostly limited on issues that are related to traffic.
Traffic, yeah. Yeah, traffic is of course a prime area for smart city development. But maybe you can also share a bit about how easy was it actually for you to have access to this geospatial data? Because I think it may be also not completely without problem, no?
Well, surprising is big problem. Because as you said, also imagine that the technology itself for the gathering the data or to distribute the data is way high. Also, like speed of the development is really high, but the standard and the policy is quite conservative, very conservative. Because in our forum we talk about a lot of North Korean issues, right? That really affects for the geospatial distribution. So drone is really forbidden within the.
Oh yeah.
Also, when you get the spatial data, you should send something to approved from the government.
Yes.
And so there are so many discussion now.
Yeah.
So what is the innovation and what is the protective or privacy plus privacy, but anyway, so overcome that kind of big gaps like. Technologies and also even for users are very friendly for the technology, but still so many policies have to overcome. So to do that, to overcome that, in our project, Digital Twin Seun, we promote several levels of acquiring the data. So people can gather participate to provide and contribute the data, but at the same time how to link with the national level.
Yes.
So it's kind of ecosystem of the data.
Yes, that's quite a, yeah, I also maybe before you comment on that,
Okay.
I think I would like, it's important that many cities have the policy in place, but there's not really the practice. And also many cities still sell data, particular geospatial data. If you as an architect want to buy this data, the very 3D maps and very good high quality detailed information, granular information, is quite expensive. In Hong Kong, it's a big business for the government. And although we have an open data policy, our lands department says, oh no, we want to make some money with this data, selling it to architects and to selling it to planners and so on. So that's a problem, I think, where we are with one leg still in the kind of traditional economy where data is like an asset that you want to monetize. On the other hand, we want to see the common good that to inspire entrepreneurs and citizens to do, and researchers to do something with this data.
Exactly.
Do you want to comment more on this topic, or?
Yeah, I find it quite interesting because I think we have two lines now. What makes a smart city? The one smart city is what is coined by all these publications. This is big data for traffic, energy efficiency, safety and security, and it's fine. Yeah, but I think, and it's not for nothing that you mentioned as well, to make a smart city is a city which is a productive city. And that brings me back to the beginning of my talk. Lagos, Kinshasa, these cities in Africa, stupid city because they don't have intelligent, whatever it is, infrastructures. Definitely not. They face the problem that they have so much informal work to be done that this work doesn't contribute to the development of the city. But if you have cities like 80 million persons, it's like a country. It's a big country. How to govern this? When we talk about peace and prosperity, how to guarantee social coherence. Yeah, you have to bring these people into jobs. You have to have something like a productive basis of a city like this. This city can't live on the hinterland of this outskirts of a big city. A metropolis has to be somehow sustainable in economic terms. And this is a smart city, and it's not something like big data, but it's like big information. So have access, what have the people in their head, which is already processed data, and make this available. It's something like open access, definitely, but really to intertwine different sectors, different companies, what you said as well, to have a factory network, which is overspanning sectors as well, to have something like cross-sector innovation potentials. And of course, if you have a big city, you have more possibilities. Again, you have the complexity of products, production systems, and knowledge. And this, to put this into value, I think this is a really smart city, and it doesn't primarily depend on the infrastructure and of big data. It's another concept, and this is promoted as well by the city of Barcelona. The first legislation period, they were facing already as well big data infrastructure, digital infrastructure, above and below, and then they changed the concept. They put this social coherence and value production in the focus, and they are doing quite well, and it's impressive how Barcelona is developing under this paradigm.
Okay, well, then I want to ask you this question. You know, I mean, you were when we heard the presentation, all cities today have maker places, co-working spaces, smart city plans, big data plans, and so on. So is it just like, I mean, what we have seen, the pictures that we have seen from Seoul, you can also find in Amsterdam, you can find them in Tokyo and in Hong Kong. So is it all cities, what makes cities actually then, you spoke about tolerance, technology, and talent. So isn't it also a little bit like, the freedom or the space to innovate that is decisive?
Definitely,
So
definitely.
that you, I mean, I want to talk more about how do we distinguish actually cities if everybody does the same, more or less.
Well,
Maybe you first.
yeah, I
You have
have
been to other cities as well, I guess.
Yes, I have several episodes.
Yeah, okay.
Like let's say I showed the robot arm, and then we developed a clay 3D printer, just like we made 3D the clay extruder at the Seonsanga area to in a small factories. And then we put it there, and then it became a 3D printer, right? And then if I go to the Berlin, TU Berlin or something, the university who has the same robot arm, then we can just bring that part, or we can bring just the plan for the extruder. Then we can make.
You can make it over.
Overseas. And then that happened whenever I organize an international workshop.
Yeah.
So people just bring very light thing, but they produce.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of universal language somehow.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, that links to another asset of the productions.
Yes.
So in a sense, it's universal, but
it's universal, but you also can easier communicate.
Yeah, it became a platform.
Exactly, and it depends always on the special conditions a city has. Yeah, it's like a forest. If you look at a forest, it's all trees, it's all green, it's raining, and you have animals inside. But it's a big difference if you look at a forest in Siberia and here or in Brazil. Yeah, the species are very different, the conditions are very different, so it all looks the same, but on the second view, it's totally distinctive.
Okay.
And I think this is a good way, and we have this as well in countries. No, the Berlin ecosystem for startups is more software-based, and the Munich software system is more hardware-based. All the beautiful machines come from the southern part of Germany, and all these algorithms come from the northern part, so it's as well a division of labor. It's quite nice, and they interfere and interact.
Yes, but on the other hand, there are always some topics that are economically not interesting, that nobody touches these topics. And so in the smart city discourse, you always have energy, smart mobility, smart manufacturing, but then there are also these difficult topics which nobody really touches. And then is the question, should this be a business topic or a citizen topic? And the topics I want to talk about is actually the sustainability topics, and that is clean air. Air pollution is a problem in many cities, also in many smart cities, including Seoul and Berlin, of course. But then also the urban waste problem. There's nobody really, it's very difficult to make a business case for that. So is that then the innovation space for citizen or for non-profits? Or how do we deal with these basics? Access to water, access to clean air, and waste. And of course, food. Urban food systems. Right. So there I see if you go to Smart City Conference, there's very little on that. What's Berlin doing?
I think there are the limits of cities, maybe not, but to me it's not the question in first place of business model to have clean air, to have clean water, to have less waste production. I'm sorry to say so, maybe I'm a bit statistic. This is a question of law. You have to put limits.
Yeah.
You have to put limits, thresholds. And Germany has its very nice experience with car industry. Yeah, we paid so much in tax money for all these car companies like VW and BMW to be able to do the digital transformation of mobility. And how did they do it? With fraud software. So they invested the money to have something like a system which simulates that the threshold is kept, and it wasn't. No, the big scandal, I think, that swapped over as well to Korea. This is not the way to do it. You have to give thresholds, not more than 120 milligrams CO2 per kilometer, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay. So
zero emission, a quote. The good thing is with China, they are so dominant, and they say, yes, 10% of all these cars have to be zero-emission cars. This works. And you can have, for example, in Europe, you can please, won't you, and the industry, can't you? No, they don't. We had this experience with lead-free fuel. We had this experience with fluorocarbon water, I don't know how this is called, with sprays. They had to be banned by law. Yeah,
right.
we waited years and years, and nothing happened.
So yeah, that's a good example of how why we also need a very strong regulation in smart cities. So it's not only about entrepreneurs and open spaces and doing something as a small company or a citizen. We also need the government for setting the kind of the framework and regulation.
But
and that's also the UN SDGs for cities and the UN Habitat and so on. How does that affect urban planning in Seoul, the SDGs? Or the sustainability, thinking.
Yep. But I was like trying to add on that
Please
first.
do.
Yeah,
Please.
because the regulation is one thing, but make some consensus, like a public consensus, very important. So like recently in Korea, like air pollution is really big problem. It's many factors, and we still investigate what was the source and things like that. But because the pollution was too bad, so people start to act like really. We start to consider either I drive car today or not, or in their personal life. So also the government try to make some like project that make more logical reasons or more sensors that we can perceive what happens. So that's, I think it's very important to get people move and act. So execute. So I think regulation is one thing, but making some consensus is very important too.
But I think to make people act is very good on local level. So if my neighborhood and myself are touched by a problem, I'm willing to engage, I'm willing to look for solutions, and I'm willing to change my, I don't know, consumption patterns and so on and so on. But if it's something like on abstract level and on national or European Union level, people don't engage so much. And so it's no contradiction to have, on the one hand, a strong government on city level, which really looks that this is coordinated, that everybody is doing what he wants, but at the same time allows that everybody is able to do what he wants. It sounds a bit contradictory, but this is exactly the balance of freedom and something like common sense. Yeah, the freedom don't have to be something like an egoism, and I do advance on the cost of the others. But if this is something like a common progress, whoever will define a common progress, we have a pluralistic society, it's difficult to define where a whole city wants to go. But if there's something like a rough direction, so the local government can hold this direction, there are many local participants to find solutions, and there is space for startups, social startups, or whatever, to really make a working model of this. And if this is a commercial model, or as I said, a social model where everybody can participate, this doesn't matter.
Okay, I think maybe now it's time also to open up to everyone here in the room. So that's maybe this topic we discussed now about the regulation, government, citizens, companies. Is a smart city actually also about restricting our freedom a bit because we just need to drastically change our lifestyle in terms of consumption, pollution, and surviving? But so I think that's you say I think there are probably quite different views about that. I think we still use plastic bottles and coffee to go and all these things. So please. You can ask in Korean or in English, so we should be very glad if you could address our experts or contribute to your discussion. If you are from Jeju, do you think you are smarter than Seoul?
Okay, I try to break the ice. I'm Christian Tags for the Naumann Foundation, and what came into my mind also after having a discussion with Ambassador Lim, the smart city, the ideal smart city or the smart city to be in future. What does it offer? How can the smart city really take with it every citizen? Is it really possible to make out of the ordinary citizen of today smart citizens, 100% smart citizens in the population? I'm not talking about these 80 or 100 million cities. I'm talking about smart cities of today. What does it offer, for example, for elderly people, for the older generation? Of course, we suppose that young people really are open for all and are fascinated by these new techniques and new life it is offering. But what has to be done really to get everybody into the boat?
Okay, you want to comment on that? Yeah.
Accessibility, right? It's like,
example.
yeah, yeah. It could, digital literacy. It could, I just recall that discussion at the conference like we made. It's when we set the platform, and then smart city can be the platform, but that's not maybe the one just platform. But some people cannot get into the platform for many reasons. But if we think of city is a platform. It's not a technology, right? It's but we don't feel like a technology. But city is like a big invention of civilization, right? And so if we think it's a more or less like evolution model, rather than we shift from flipping from here to there. So since we have been living in the city, so if we adopt a smart city concept, then it's not drastically change it. It's kind of gradually we can adapt here and then, and we can make a solution. It takes time. So in that sense, smart city, but normal city, ordinary city is already a platform.
So what you want to add something to this, of how inclusive is the smart city?
I think when you look at something like a very well-known example for a well-working, well-functioning smart city is Copenhagen in Denmark. It's 1.3 million inhabitants. The projection for 2050 is 1.3 million citizens. So it's a stable growth or even a small shrinking due to demographic change. They have now 65 or whatever % of labor traffic is done by bicycle. 4 seasons a year, 65%, it's still growing. They have the ambitious aim to have, 2025, 2030, carbon-free energy supply of a city of 1.3 million people. So there we see it's an old city. And nobody would relate it to smart city, because it's an old European city, but they have this growth in quality and not in quantity. And they had the time to develop something like, maybe in Scandinavian countries is much easier than in other parts of the world, this common sense. So we want to be a carbon-free city. We want to go by bike, and they invested in bike lanes and not more streets with, 3, 4, 5, 6 lanes. And this is really a promising approach. And as I said, it's a growth in quality and not in quantity. And don't be upset. Of course they use high technology.
Of course,
if it's useful and if it's needed. But the technology is a tool for solving problems. And it's not the objective. It's not kilometers and kilometers of glass fiber and then we are a smart city. But what is needed to improve life of all citizens. And of course, they can't guarantee that some of the people fell out of the system. But typically Scandinavian country, they first offer that everybody has the chance to be part of this movement. And if he can't, she can't, I don't say bad luck, but some always drop out. But the majority of the inhabitants of Copenhagen go on. And
Yeah,
not
it's
for nothing, Copenhagen seems to be the most
happiest.
lucky city in the world.
The happiest city.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a combination, of course, of cycling and happiness. There's a lot of, yeah. Okay, there's a question over there, and also the one behind. Yeah, here. Right there. Yeah. Would you mind to say your name or where you come from?
Yes, my name is Im, and I am Executive Director of ASEAN Global Aging Center. This center is trying to address the human rights of older persons. So
okay.
all all human beings see from their own perspective. So I am approaching this issue from my own job consciousness. And at the outset, Dr. Tarks, let me congratulate you the holding this session. It's very timely and very relevant to the theme of Jeju Forum, because Jeju Forum's theme is prosperity and integration. And prosperity depends upon the development.
Exactly.
As you said, without the development, there is no peace. If there is no peace, no development. So peace and development are reinforcing, helping each other, inseparably interlinked. In that respect, this session provides very, I'm sure that it provides very relevant messages. And also I learned from the presentation, I benefit a lot from your professional expertise. And I heard, particularly with great attention, to the word or social cohesion.
Yeah.
Every development should have a people-first approach. And in that respect, I am dealing with some aged population issue. And smart cities programs should also put the people first. I mean, smart cities should be friendly to the aged population, to persons with disabilities, and so on and so on. In the respect, the role of government is essential, critical. You said government may be as a regulator, but government also can be a supporter, demonstrator, and something like that. So I think a government role is critical, so we must look at it from various aspects. And also the law of business, they put the profit, they all the time seek short-term profit first. They don't see the long-term the perspective. So I think when we talk about the smart cities, the law of business is critical, but they must see a little bit long-term approach. That is I think another point. I think you said that the access to data. I think I'm not the layman, but I think that to develop smart cities programs, access to the data.
Data is important, yeah.
That is really critical and should be a high priority when we talk about this. I don't have any particular question, but this is just for comment and observation.
Thank you very much for your comments. There was also a question behind. Yeah. Thank you. Very good.
Hi. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives. I'm Chen from the Straits Times Singapore. So Singapore itself also has declared its ambition to be a smart nation.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, seeing that different cities have made some inroads towards this goal, I'm just wondering if there's leeway for all these different smart cities to collaborate. In what ways could this happen, and what are the challenges that we might run into?
Okay, well, Singapore is thank you for mentioning this, because Singapore, your government has a World Cities Forum every 2 years, I think, where they invite all cities to join and share experience. Yeah, and that's one. And I think there are just the UNESCO from the UN. they are also organizing the Asia Pacific Urban Forum, UN Habitat. So there is a kind of multilateral international organizations where you have this exchange between mayors and city officials on exchange. But I think there are also many other events where this exchange happens, also between university researchers and so on. Yeah. But great that you come here. Yeah.
Indeed, I was going to bring in the Smart Nation project right after the Copenhagen examples, because it's right the opposite endpoint, probably. So when I visit the Singapore Smart Nation project people, there's so many people who are working that project, and then everyone says, "Oh, that's a way of thinking. It's not a one project." So it's got a big agenda, and then even though they have system that called Smart City, that it's like a digital twin kind, and also it's real their urban planning department utilizing that system for permissions and monitoring and things like that. But that's not the smart city system. That's they have another name, but they're still developing that data system in make it their own standards, because they make it DASO system first, and then they want to overcome more independent systems, for instance. Also to utilize new permission system like that. So they kind of still updating, also spreading their knowledge with that umbrella. Yeah. But my impression in Korea, about the smart city, is related to the urban development, the real development, the new city development. So in the Copenhagen case, it's more related to the governance or the life already there. And then in Singapore case, it's more or less like make a new infrastructure of informations. And then in Korea, it's mixed with the new development agenda. They put the name as a smart city, and then there are so many resources can be invested in under the name. So it's a quite different concept, but we call all smart city.
Okay, I think we have officially come to a close, and I would, but we can maybe stay here for some informal discussions if you want to talk to our panelists here. But first of all, let me thank our two speakers for great contributions. Yeah. And thank you for joining our session, and please stay around for informal discussions here. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.